Thank you for joining, everybody. And Laura, thank you so much for joining tonight. And before we go ahead, I must just, a disclaimer. So Laura's put me to work tonight. I have to check out my technical skills, which are non-existent. Like, this is as far as I ever did. Now I have to try and figure out how to share some things. So just, forgive me. It's not going to be perfect, but we're going to have fun, and I'm going to try and do my best to highlight what Laura needs me to help you with. So thank you, Laura. Thank you for joining.
Thanks, Elaine. Thanks so much for asking me to come along. So hello, everybody. My name is Laura Santoni, and just a little bit about me. I'm a holistic therapist. I trained in specialized kinesiology and life alignment and a few other modalities. I'm also an educator. My initial training was a primary school teacher in Australia. And then I'm a singer-songwriter.
Oh, sorry. Unmute yourself, Laura. I just had to mute everybody. Unmute yourself. There we go.
Okay. Can you hear me?
Yes, perfect.
Okay, great. So in the form of my therapeutic work, what I do is my main focus is always been about the transformation of the heart, and in specifically what I really like to focus on is developing coherency of heart and mind and helping people to get to that place, and then their journey towards wholeness and people's return to innocence. And through music, it's been such a great opportunity to grow with that myself. And just in a way, it's taught me so many things, in the past 25 years of working with music. While I offer these things separately, the teaching, the therapy, and the singing and the song separately, about 20 years ago, I fused these three areas together and I created an initiative that today is called Sing the Change. Back then, in the early days, it had different names, but what this initiative is about is that it uses the transformational tools of singing and songwriting to help young people and older people address adversity and find a way to give them a voice and enable them to create positive change in their lives through different sorts of experiences. So that's what Sing the Change is about. And what I'm going to do this evening is sort of really three things. I'd like to share with you my own personal relationship with music since I was a child and my own evolution to music, my own personal transformation from childhood. And then I want to discuss about how that particular relationship inspired and defined the work that I do today, and with the initiative and also with individual sessions. And then lastly, I would like to present to you my latest, what music has showed me most recently. And it's actually a new process that I call Songdala. And it's the process of working with individuals to help them retrieve their own heart song. About 7 years ago, I did a Tedx talk called Finding Authenticity Through Music. And in that talk, I spoke about everything leading up to the formation of Sing the Change, including my childhood and the whole inspiration and all the projects. Tonight, I'm going to also be talking about what's transpired after those 7 years to present day. And before I do that, before I start talking about that and starting with the slides, I thought it would be nice to set the tone with a song, an original song that I wrote, and I also performed this at the Tedx. And it's a song called Beautiful Reminder. And I wrote this song as a form of the way to honor this relationship I've had ever since I was a child with music. Music has been the most loyal friend, the most loyal companion through the most difficult times, and it's been a teacher. And so the song is about it being a beautiful reminder. And we all have beautiful reminders in our lives. It could be nature, it could be our pets, our children, the things that we love to do. But the essence of a beautiful reminder is basically one's ability to be connected to something that enables them to connect to their wholeness, to their authenticity, and a way to return to innocence. And that is what Beautiful Reminder is about. So we're going to play that. Excuse our technical, trying to get the sound right and everything. We're still learning how to do this. But so I'll just press share screen. Should I share screen, or do you need to do without share screen?
Yeah, do share screen. You go ahead, do share screen.
Now why? Oh, hold on. Play from the start. Here we go. So can you see just the one picture, or can you see a lot of little slides, everybody?
Just the one picture.
Okay, great. Terrific. So Elaine's just going to find that song and start playing it.
Oh. Is it? Oh, you've opened it up. So, okay. I think.
Do you need me to stop sharing screen?
Stop sharing. Let me do it. Otherwise, it doesn't play through. Sorry, everybody.
Okay.
So if you close down your sharing screen, just close the sharing screen, and then I'll have to go to it.
Okay.
Apologies. I'm going to just open up, everybody. Let's see. Press share. I'm really not as versed as, there we go, as Laura is in this. Beautiful reminder. Okay, now I need to get to this page.
There it is, right there in front of you. Beautiful reminder.
Yeah, but everything else is in the way, you see?
Oh.
So I can't see it. There we go. Okay.
Hi there, my name is Laura Santoni, and I'm here at Nuthouse Recording Studios with Andrew Ford, a friend, musician and composer, and owner of the Nuthouse Recording Studio in Cape Town. We're going to perform a specifically chosen original composition called Beautiful Reminder. As a song for change, Beautiful Reminder contains universal themes and messages for collective awakening and transformation. Songs such as these act as a musical template to help us reconnect to our wholeness. By exploring these themes, we can support and nurture our journey as women reclaiming our inner and outer power. So please join me afterwards for some self-discovery and a little bit of inspiration in a conversation about Beautiful Reminder. And I'd also like to dedicate this song to the first woman I ever knew and loved, and that is my mother, Laura Santoni, who is sitting in isolation in an elderly people's home in Melbourne, Australia. This is for you, Mum. I've got roots to ground me, and the will to live free. While I branch out to the sky, oh, those spotlights, they watch my every move. There's nothing I need to prove, 'cause I got roots that hold me firm. And I have wings to take me high on my faraway tree, on this faraway night. Catch a falling star, I dare you. We are grounded to fly. Yes, I know it really scares you, a wild woman find her way. Felt her golden heart sing and fill with splendid peace to carry her beyond bright skies so blue to the girl she once knew. Catch a falling star, I dare you. We are grounded to fly. Yes, I know it really scares you, but those eyes, they haven't served you, and it's not too late to try. A seeker made to find her. You're my beautiful reminder. Come on, let's take this moonlit night and scatter all these gifts for pure delight. Navigate the stars with ease. Skim the leaves upon tall trees. Catch a falling star, I dare you. We are grounded to fly. Yes, I know it really scares you, but those eyes, they haven't served you, and it's not too late to try. The seeker made to find her. You're my beautiful reminder.
Unmute yourself, Lo.
Okay. Yeah. Okay, so I'm going to now do my share screen.
So I'm going to stop sharing.
Yeah. Oops. Okay. So I'm just going to start now with what I sort of did at the TEDx talk. I gave a little bit of background information about the origin of all the inspiration. And I'm going to take you all the way back to this time in my life. I was born in Hong Kong to an Italian family, Italian immigrants who moved to Australia in the 60s. And my father was a musician, so we traveled a lot. And growing up in Australia was quite challenging as Italian immigrants. There was a lot of racism, and I experienced a lot of racism. I was very aware of my difference, the different culture, the different food, and not fitting in, and the whole theme of just not belonging. And so for me, there was one area in my life in which this feeling of not belonging didn't really show up, and that was in my relationship with music, in my singing and dancing. I just found that when I was engaged in music, I could forget everything else and I felt free to be myself. And that is something that stayed with me for a long, long time. And being born into a family where music is the norm, which is basically what it was for me, my father being a musician, it enabled me to engage in music in such a way that there was never like a question of it being something outside of my life. It was always something inside. So, and I was very I love the way it was such a big part of our lives. I love the way that Dad would, socially, we'd have friends over and he'd, play the guitar and the piano, and it was our way of connecting with friends. And it's something that I learnt from him and my culture. In fact, there was like one particular experience that had such a strong impact on me was when I was about 5 or 6 years of age, and Dad was performing with his band, and it was in a place called Villa Borghese, and it was this huge dining hall, and I was about 5 or 6, and I remember sort of being perched on the stage watching him, and while everybody was sitting at these tables and dining, and the band was doing like a sound check and getting ready to play, and then there was always this moment when just before they would start their set, there'd be Dad would strum the guitar, and then you'd know they was about to perform the song. And so I remember him doing that, and then as he did that, all of a sudden I became so aware of the change in energy in the room. I noticed all the people, the grown-ups, just getting off their tables and sort of rushing to this dance floor, and suddenly everything's just started transforming. And I'm looking at this and I'm watching them all abandon themselves and have so much joy, and while they were dancing to my father's music. And as I watched this, it left such an impression on me. And I remember thinking, I saw this huge shift, and I remember thinking, wow, I mean, that's incredible. It's like my father was a musician and he was creating magic through his music. So ever since that moment, I had this impression that whenever I sort of watched musicals, or I saw my favorite band playing like ABBA, I always connected to the element of magic in music, that it was something more than just me. And I remember connecting to that very early on in my life. So here's some pictures of Dad and his band. That's Dad in Hong Kong with Gina Lola Brigida. This is the one of his band. I think it was Luciano and the Movados. So he was a Latin jazz musician. Dad's still with us. He's 90 years old. He still plays. And then there's that one. That's Dad and I. We often would sing together when I was back in Australia. So anyway, I ended up not doing music as a career or doing singing. I actually never studied music. Everything I know about music and singing has been self-taught. My mother wanted me to be a teacher, and I didn't really have the confidence to and the ambition to push it further. And so I went into teaching, and I became a Catholic school teacher. I was brought up in the Catholic tradition because my mother was Roman Catholic. My father wasn't religious. And I went to a convent school, and my first teaching job was at St. Augustine's in Melbourne. And Sister Agnes, this isn't actually a picture of her, but this is a picture I found that actually reminds me a lot of her. And she was my first boss, so to speak, okay? And I remember my first experience of feeling a level of inauthenticity was because I was trained to teach Catholicism. I remember having a grade 6 class, and the children were asking me questions. And at that time I was 21, and I was feeling already asking questions of my own. And I was thinking, the answers that I received back from people in authority, I just didn't quite sit with me. I didn't feel quite resolved with those answers. And there I was in a position where I had to answer the same questions coming at me from 11-year-olds, 10-year-old children, and who asked very good questions. And I remember feeling, I can't do this anymore. This is just, I'm feeling too inauthentic in this, and I left. And I was very restless, and I wanted to sort of break free of my conditioning. So the next thing happened from teaching. The next thing, an opportunity arose, and I ended up getting a modeling contract, joining an agency and getting an international modeling contract in Milan, Italy, of all places. You know, growing up in Australia and having this sense of shame for my identity, being embarrassed about my parents when I was young, and carrying that shame and that guilt for feeling embarrassed about them. I remember it was such an ironic thing that here I end up in Italy, and when I arrived in Italy as a model, the next thing you know, I became my look was actually very successful. So I ended up I had this career that sort of took off, and for 3 years, I basically traveled out of a suitcase, and I experienced great success. I made a lot of money. I did like all the great magazines and some shows, and I mean, it was like the real sort of typical success story in that respect. And during that time while I was modeling, I was also connected to music in the sense that I'd met a producer, and he was very interested in signing me up. He'd heard me sing, and he was he was more in line with the recording part of the industry, and I'd never done that before. And so he encouraged me to write songs. So I would keep a journal and I'd write poetry. And so that's when that started for me. I started writing my own songs, and then I would show him. And it was this great process where I started to unravel using this poetry. And I started that journey of discovering who I was using music. So taking it from a passive relationship, which is what I grow up in terms of listening, to actually using it as a tool of expression for myself, which was quite a shift for me. So that was what happened. And then during this time, unexpectedly, I became depressed, which was really difficult for a few reasons, apart from just the horrible feeling of depression. But here I was living this life that was supposedly a life of success. And yet what I was feeling wasn't matching up to it. And in the end, this turned out to be such a gift because it was an enormous catalyst for change. I actually started doing a lot of inner work. I was experiencing a lot of apathy and guilt for not being happy with what I had. And then again, it felt like I just didn't belong in my own life. Again, there was that theme of inauthenticity. So this catalyst was just amazing because, I mean, looking back, I can say that because it started me, I left the outward expression of my life where everything about how I looked and how life looked on the outside, and I turned inward, and I experienced kinesiology for the first time, and I was blown away by it, and I decided I wanted to study it. And then I experienced psychotherapy workshops, and I found amazing teachers. So I literally would fly back and forth from wherever I was working overseas and come and do these workshops. And I really kept my foot in that door while I was working. While that was all happening, I ended up probably a couple of years later. In 1992, I came to South Africa on a working holiday. And I just absolutely loved being here. There was just such a natural affinity for me. And if I look back, I don't know, I guess because Australia also is so big on nature and the outdoor life. But there was something more here for me, which I later discovered. But when I moved to South Africa, I ended up marrying and having 2 children of my own who are in their 20s at the moment. And about 4 years after I moved, I got invited to be a part of a project through a friend of mine, Daphne, who's actually here watching tonight. This project I was invited because I was a teacher or ex-teacher, and then I could sing. And a man called Kubus Olivia, he was a property developer, an Afrikaans property developer. And he invited me to work with him on making a children's music video using the voices of these children from Masipumelele Township. I wasn't really that interested in it. I wasn't like, oh, yes, I want to do it. I thought, look, I haven't used my teaching skills for a long time. So, and he wanted me to work in Nordhoek, turn up at we used this property of his. It was like a big block of flats, and we would teach in the garage there. And I got to know these little children. But what was interesting was I was coming with my Australian teaching skills from a very different context in terms of schools, and now going in and working with township children. So there was a lot of newness for me as well, and loads of learning. But one of the things that sort of was a bit of a challenge with the children was that the language was a bit of a barrier, and I felt like I wasn't succeeding in what I was trying to achieve. One day, a couple of the children came up to me. Sorry, I'm going back. What I had to achieve, what they had to learn were children's songs, Christmas songs, basically. So Kerbis wanted me to teach the children about 20 Christmas songs, English Christmas songs, and we were going to make a music video, and his aim was to take that and sell it to airlines so they could play it on the airlines. And I mean, the project lasted for about a year, but literally in the first month, the two of the children, I was feeling quite despondent about it, because it felt like a little bit of an uphill climb. But the children came up to me one day, two little ones, and said, can we sing to you our songs? And I said, sure. And well, they sang me their songs, and they sang their traditional African music. And I had never heard traditional African music, especially being sung by children. And they had incredible harmony. And what I noticed was the contrast between them singing English songs to them singing their own music, and to singing, which was infused with their culture and their own sense of belonging instantaneously, was just black and white. It was just huge. And I thought, what on earth are we doing teaching them, getting them to sing English songs when this is what we should be recording? Unfortunately, Kerbis was not interested in that. But this is what inspired me to do my work, to create an initiative. And so I then, these are the kids arriving. Kerbis would take his bus, and collect them from the school. And there they are again, some of them. And that's my daughter there. I would bring her, Salara, to some of the sessions. So the next step was I created my own initiative. The focus definitely was around traditional African music, but also I wanted to infuse life skills in that, and self-empowerment within that. So it was the beginning of that theme. And what happened was I met a lady, because to get into a township school isn't that easy, but everything just lined up. It was incredible. I met this lady who was a part of this program that trained township teachers. I met her in a shoe shop in all places, and we just struck a conversation. And she then invited me I told her about my initiative and what I wanted to do, and then she invited me to meet the principal of Kinkamantwana Primary School in Crossroads. And I remember her telling me, when she drove me in, because she escorted me into the township, and she said to me, this is going to be the first day of the rest of your life. And I wasn't quite sure what she meant by that. But so I was extremely naive, and I go into Kinkamantwana, and I run through I meet the principal, and I meet the whole staff, and I'm sitting there, and here I am having to explain my program, what I like to do. And in the end, it all just flowed. It was incredible, and they were just so welcoming. And here are some of the children. In fact, Siviwe, I think maybe that might be you. I've got one of the gentlemen now, 20 years ago. I'm so stoked that you're here, Siviwe. He's here. He contacted me, I don't know how long was it, Siviwe, maybe a few months, maybe last year, telling me that you're a part of Masikula Masidanese, and and maybe we can hear about what you're doing today, because he wrote me a beautiful letter about how this work had affected and inspired the work that he does today, which is just wonderful. For a teacher to hear that, it's just fantastic. So the children got to learn about traditional African music, and I ended up finding Dizuplates from Amapundo. He came in and he taught the children about traditional African instruments. At the time, there was like this huge hub about pop idols. And I was like, no, music originated in Africa. Your roots. I mean, you've got to just connect to the power of music through your ancestors and learn it. And I was afraid that there was going to be this whole thing of everybody running to sort of the West to pursue this sort of different type of interest in music. So we carried on this project, and it was very successful. I was there for 2 years. There's Siviwe right there. And there was this one, I'm going to share this one incredible experience that I had while working with the children. I think it was a grade 6, grade 7 class. And I did a creative visualization with them. And basically it was like a guided meditation. And they were all lying on the floor in the classroom. And I played some really nice music in the background, and I guided them through this visualization. And I took them through this beautiful forest. And in the forest, there were the most friendly, beautiful animals that greeted them. This place was just heavenly, and it was just very safe. And I asked them to engage in the environment around them. Then as they moved through the forest, they came to an opening and they found a beautiful, lovely sea, warm, calm sea. And as they got to the beach and they walked on the sand, they saw a dolphin appearing out of the water in this very calm water. They dipped their toes and the water's very warm. And the next part of the visualization is that this dolphin was to guide them down into the water, where all of a sudden they could breathe underwater. And this dolphin was going to give them a gift. And this gift was a key. And this key was to mean something to them. And each person we're going to describe, what that key meant to them and what it looked like. At the end of that visualization, out of that whole class, there was only one child that was able to move beyond the forest. Only one child got down to retrieve the key and brought it up. And when he came and he described his experience, he spoke about how his key was just covered in this beautiful gold with emeralds, and he described how ornately decorated this incredible key was. And yet only one child was able to move beyond that whole space to actually receive his gift. The other children told me that they became too afraid in the forest and that they were afraid of the animals. And it really taught me a lot, and it really opened up my awareness about how much fear, how many things are stored in our hearts that we cannot actually access our own joy and innocence because there's so many layers upon it. So that sort of planted more seeds for me. So moving along, after the end of when Masikule Masidanise finished, I ended up writing a children's CD for life skills for foundation phase, 10 songs. And I was working for CPG, and I was doing teachers' rounds. I was employed part-time to go and assess school teachers on their teaching rounds. And I was assessing a third-year student. And she blew me away because she was teaching science and she pulled music out to teach science to children. I thought, oh, wow, she's getting a great crit. And so I ended up pulling out a CD I had. I said, this is a gift for you. And I explained what it was. And she said, you need to meet our principal because I think she would love something like this. Because I told her about I had a program for very small children, teaching life skills through songs. I met the principal. To cut a long story short, they invited me to run the program there. She gave me a classroom of my own, and then I could work with the small children. In the end, what happened was the grade 7 teacher became ill, and the principal approached me and said, could you just work with these grade 7 children because they don't have a teacher and we need somebody. And I said, well, they said, can you do your program with them? And I hadn't planned on working with teenagers. And in the end, it was an opportunity again. And so I agreed. And so I met a couple of classes of grade 7 learners. And that's when Pick Up the Mic project came about. So what I decided to do with these children was to, because once I met them, I noticed there was this really strong sense of apathy, like this blanket of apathy that sat on top of them. There was no sort of, it was like drawing blood from a stone in a way. And I thought, what is underneath that, you know? So I decided I was going to invite them to be a part of this project whereby we were going to write a song together. And they got to choose what they wanted to write about, you know, and they could choose different subjects like bullying. They actually brought up these different subjects, child labor, HIV, all sorts of topics. But in the end, they decided to focus on the fact that they wanted a voice in the world, that they don't feel that they're heard. And so that was going to be the theme of our songs. So I worked with them twice a week, and there was a scribe who sat in the classroom who would take notes, and I would take notes too, and we did like these conversations, and we did all sorts of practices, and eventually they started to brainstorm and think and share ideas, thoughts and feelings about what it meant for them to be heard and not be heard. And there were times it got quite emotional, actually. There were tears and a lot of release for a lot of the children, which was very, very special. But in the end, what I was doing, I decided when it was time to write the song, I asked for all the material. I went home and I collated everything, and I put all the material and created a song. And I wrote the music. And then I had to go bring the song to them and show them their song. And I was really nervous because, you know, these are teenagers, and what are they going to think of this song? You know, is it going to be something that appeals to them? Anyway, so at the time, the day that I was going to show them their song, I decided I was going to film it all. So I put video cameras up, and I played their song. And the song was called Hear Our Minds. And they ended up, I described it in this talk as well. It was like a scene from Fame. They literally got up there, jumped off their chairs, and they listened to this music, and they were really getting into it. And they just, suddenly there was like this complete transformation in this particular moment. And it was such a lovely confirmation. And so I'm going to get you Elaine. That's going to be the next song just to play. This song is really important because it ended up being the theme song for Sing the Change Coming Later. But this is where it started. It was like the seed song, and the whole process of the writing of the song and how the information was retrieved, all that information developed, and I refined it further as the project evolved. This was a nice experience. The children got to also be interviewed and talk about their experiences. Do you need me to stop sharing, Elaine?
Yes.
Okay, I'm going to stop sharing.
Okay, so give me a moment. Share screen. Okay, now we're going to go we had it open here.
Yeah, it should be underneath. There it is, yeah.
I'm getting there.
Which one is this one? Yeah. No, that's Valentine's Under the Stars.
Okay.
So it's the one, if you go back to IGTV.
Okay.
There it is, just down there, the one with the microphone, holding the microphone. You're on the page.
Okay, I'm on the page.
Yeah.
This one here.
Okay. No, the one with the microphone down below. It says pick up the mic project. That's it.
So I'm just going to move this over.
You know what? You can start it a little bit further in because there's a bit of, I don't know if you can do that. Oh, maybe, no, it should be fine. It should be fine. Yep.
Okay, so we're gonna unmute.
Deep down in their hearts, there's a song they want to sing. The future has a voice, and they have so much to bring. Anita feels the love in a world so confused. Kingsley feels the silence that shouts out for the abused. Here are mothers, they are hungry but they are full. These are hearts have a beat so strong to prove. Watch our bodies walk the steady line. As our spirit can only dance, I want to smile. Watch us shine.
Desktop.
Did I stop it prematurely?
No, that's good. That's good.
Okay, so should I stop share? There we go.
Yeah, perfect. Okay. So you'll see in a bit that song has had a journey in itself, its own journey actually, which I'll show you. What's happened is after I worked with the children of Ellerton Primary School on this project, I stopped for a couple of years, and an opportunity presented itself out of the blue when a lady came up to me and said to me, she heard about the work I'd done. I was introduced through a friend, and she asked me if I knew of a choir, and that this choir would need to sing at a concert and perform at a concert with the Cape Town Philharmonic Orchestra. and celebrity artists for an event called Valentine's Under the Stars, and if I knew of a choir. And I didn't know of a choir, but I had a great idea. And I thought, wow, now maybe I can do something with what I'd done in the past. And the timing of it was perfect because I'd just been to my children's school concert at Camps Bay High, and I'd witnessed this school choir. And they were brilliant. Majority of the kids were from the townships. And I thought of them, and I thought, you know what? I went back to this lady. I had a choir. And now the job was to create a new platform. But this time, I went there with another level. It's like the project developed even further. And this is how Sing the Change came about. Okay, so basically from all those years, I accumulated my learnings. What did I learn about all this? And with Pick Up the Mic project, I learned that what I experienced in my own journey alongside music could be applied to youth and schools. It wasn't just something that happened for me. And that the unifying force and language of music created this space that was safe and conducive for the children to sort of open up and express themselves, which was a perfect atmosphere to write songs. And the learners felt heard and seen. They felt inspired to participate. And they felt stronger together. This apathy lifted, and suddenly they were connected and they were present. And I started to experience more coherency. And, you know, the whole thing about with teaching, the difficult thing is that often learners, you know, and even teachers come to school and they're not present because there's so much going on in their lives. There's so many challenges. But how do you make yourself present and to be present there for learning and for these experiences? So in the end, the song revealed something about themselves that they couldn't see without. It reflected their strength and coherency. However distracted they were, when it came time to sing it, the song brought them into a unity and alignment. So I took this information and I put it into Sing the Change. And again, this is what the sort of the project, the elements of the project. Then I did the Tedx talk, and then Sing the Change came after the Tedx talk. And this is the concert Valentine's Under the Star. Now, this is one huge giant leap. Can you imagine going from the classroom in Ellerton Primary School and now hitting the big stage with celebrity artists, where there was the Cape Town Philharmonic Orchestra. Katlego Moboe had agreed to sing the song on stage with the choir. So we ended up rehearsing with the children at Camps Bay High. They were really, really excited about this opportunity. And we were all like, you know, we've got to pull this off. We've got to pull this off because, you know, I'd never done this before. But I so believed in the process, and I believed in the children, and I believed in the ability that music has to create coherency in our hearts and to pull out that authenticity. And we continued with it. We're rehearsing, we're working. And then we get to rehearse with the Cape Town Philharmonic Orchestra in Artscape, which was a huge thing. The children got to invite their parents to watch that as well. And then came time for the concert. And this is the Camps Bay High kids on stage with Katlego. This is Bongiwe. Bongiwe is a matric student. So Bongiwe got chosen to sing lead with Katlego, which was a huge thing for her, and an amazing experience for them all. Someone managed to take this fantastic picture. Somebody, I don't know who they were, but they sent us this picture. They were on the roof of the castle. This is the Castle of Good Hope. And this really captured it. It was just at the time when the kids were on stage. So that was okay. So I want to show you this video. So just so you can see just a little bit, Elaine, we're going to do, because the sound isn't so great. But I just wanted you to see the contrast of what it looked like to take that song, Hear Our Minds, from that classroom into this massive stage, singing it on such a level with celebrity artists who sang with the children, and that also gave extra credibility to their voice and their message. And the whole thing was extremely empowering for them to work alongside these professionals and to be part of this one project and to see that they could actually make a contribution with their voice, with this song. So shall I just stop sharing, Elaine?
Stop sharing and then I'll proceed. Okay, great. I'm getting the hang of it. Okay, now I go to Insta. I try and look where all my pages are, and they've disappeared. Where are my?
Instagram.
Where's Instagram? Sorry, folks. Instagram seemed to have gone away. So I'm just going to have to open up a new page, which Laura will just guide me through.
So type in.
I'm going to go to, hold on. I found it that, what is new window?
Yes. Okay. And then if you go to your Instagram page, if you type Insta, you'll go straight to where you were just before.
Okay. So let's just go Instagram.
There you go.
And then we'll just go use.
There it is. Yep.
Okay.
Then IGTV.
This is in the way for me. Here we go.
You're getting it, Elaine. You're getting it.
Getting it.
Getting in the flow. That's the one. Yep. Yep.
Okay, I don't know how I made it bigger last time. Oh, hold on.
I think there's a little, that's the icon up there. Yeah.
Okay. Yes. Now,
we just play a little bit of this. We don't have to play all of it, just to see the jump, the giant leap that they took.
Okay, I just can't seem to get access to
the sound is just.
Oh, there we go. There we go. And yes.
And the sound, that's it.
Is that enough?
Yeah, that's enough. So you got the feeling. So you can see the giant leap from the classroom to this giant stage. So okay, so I'm going to go back to share screen. Right. Okay. So that was very exciting, and of course, it sort of was like, we can do this. We can actually. There was loads of things we need to fix, but you know what? We can actually do this. So it got really exciting. And then the next opportunity came. And that was in the form of another concert, this time with Zolani, Mahola. And what was beautiful about this one was that it was for Women's Day in South Africa, and was going to be an all-female choir and a Cape Town Philharmonic Orchestra, or female Cape Town Philharmonic Orchestra. And we were going to find a girl to sing alongside Zolani, again, Hear Our Minds, the theme song. And it was a cast of South African divas as well. So we got to sing Doobie Doo with Zolani from Freshly Ground. And we got to sing with another two songs as well. But then what happened is we needed to have auditions. So now I'm creating more of a hype. Now there's more of a bit more energy behind it. And so I thought, okay, it's time to do auditions. So we went around to the schools and we started doing auditions. But at the same time, I thought this is such a great opportunity working with young girls. You know, we're talking about, you know, high school girls up until matric. And I thought it would be great to run a workshop and have the girls address what it means to be a woman in the 21st century, which is what I did. So we put this workshop together and we invited the girls, all the schools that auditioned to be in the concert got invited to participate in the workshop. And it was leadership through songwriting. And these are some of the girls that participated. They're from different schools. You see Bongiwe's there from Camps Bay High. Tara Lee actually was the girl who was chosen in the end to perform with Zolani. And this is some pictures from auditions from some of the different schools. And then Sanssouci girls got selected, and there's a picture of Zolani. So this is the day they got to meet Zolani. They were really, really excited. We were all so excited. It was so much fun. And, you know, it was a big thing because we had to, there was, you know, working on this level. I think the leadership skills are so important because when you work on such a professional level, there needs to be a level of commitment. And of course, you know, when you work with youth, it's always a bit scary because you never know if they're really going to turn up or there's going to be excuse. So there was a lot of nerve-wrackingness about it as well. But in the end, it worked out really well. And we ended up going on espresso. The girls got to talk about what they felt the important issues around being a woman in the 21st century. So they were interviewed about that, and they were interviewed about their upcoming performance at Cape Town City Hall for the concert. And then this is the concert. So this is the girls singing on stage, Hear Our Minds. This is, as you can see, the selection of divas in the front row. And then this was a lovely endorsement from Zolani. And, you know, it was amazing because working with the celebrities and seeing the change, what came up with the different artists that I've worked with was that working with the youth, this was a really common theme that I found from the artists. It was such an inspiration for them. It triggered something in their own hearts. It sort of, it activated something. And, you know, because a lot of artists have difficulty with songwriting. It's very easy to get blocked. But being in this energy was so inspirational for them. It was a real high, and I got a lot of positive feedback from them. I'm not going to play the video. Unfortunately, this one's a really bad quality, but if you want to see everything, it's on the my Sing the Change website and on the Instagram page. The next event, which was a very special event, was called Chefs Who Share. Now, this time I was instructed by the organizer. She knew what she wanted. And she wanted to recreate a particular scene from Glee. It's an American TV show. I don't know if for those of you that ever watched it. It was a John Lennon song, Imagine. But in this scene, they had a deaf choir that used sign language, and then another choir that sang. And so I ended up finding a choir of children from the Dominican School for the Deaf who agreed to participate in this concert. and perform alongside another choir, Swansea High School, and they were to represent Sing the Change. So the first time we had a Sign the Change, who was going to be signing Hear Our Minds on stage, signing Imagine, alongside Sing the Change, who was singing Imagine. This was the stage. It was another massive stage, another huge production. And this was the actual, the children on stage. And what I loved about this project, what was so good, was that we worked a lot with the kids talking about what it meant to be a social artist, because Chefs Who Share was a black tie charity event. It was raising funds and awareness for underprivileged children from different NGOs. So this whole thing was about saying, okay, how can you use your voice? How can you use your talent? How can you use what you love to help other people, you know? And so these children all got to experience what it meant to be a social artist on this particular platform, which was great. And this is going to be the last little snippet. I'm just going to show a few more pictures. This is backstage going on. Can you imagine trying to contain the excitement of all these teenagers? Okay, that's something different. So just the last little bit of music. This is really beautiful. This is the I'm gonna stop my share. And that one you'll find that in the YouTube link, Elaine, in the YouTube channel.
Okay, I'm just struggling. Let me see. Okay, I'm going to go here. Here we go, YouTube.
Down below, I can see it there.
There? No.
Nope, down, a bit more. Second from the last one, I think it is.
Oh, no. Actually, hold on. Let me just.
The joys.
Yeah, I know. YouTube.
You're doing a great job, better than me.
It's nerve-wracking. Okay.
I know.
Now, what did we do? It was.
That's it. Go into the YouTube channel.
That one.
Yeah, that should be it. If you open that one. And then if you go to playlist, and there it is there, the middle one.
That one.
Yeah, that's the one.
Okay.
Imagine there's no heaven. It's easy if we try. No hell below us. Above us, only sky. Imagine all the people living life today. Imagine there's no country. It isn't hard to do. Nothing to kill or die. And no religion to
Imagine all the people living life in peace. You may say
that I'm a dreamer, but I'm not the only one. I hope someday behind us,
and the world
and the world
will
will
live
live as one.
Magic,
No possession, a wonder in hand. No need for greed or hunger. A brotherhood of man. Imagine all your people sharing all the world.
Okay. Screen share. Back to this. Right. Yeah, so that was a magical experience. There's just so many stories and experiences that have come off each one of these concerts and the workshops, and I can only show you a little bit. But the next experience was a very different, wasn't a live performance. We were invited to participate in Katlego Mobile was releasing a single that he was launching on Human Rights Day about race, and he wanted Sing the Change to be on his single, singing harmonies and backup. And so the Sing the Change choir, which is represented by the Swansek High learners, the same learners that did the Imagine, and they ended up recording with him, and then we went live and we performed on the Espresso Show live as well. So I'm just going to show a few pictures of that. And this is his endorsement. It was an honor and a privilege to work with Sing the Change, choir on race. I believe we can change the future of this world by influencing the lives of our young people. Sing the Change is a beautiful example of a future Munzi, full of energy, life, love, and hope. So the next thing after this was very, very different, a very unusual request. Some people of a company called Ultimate Media in Johannesburg had seen the work, became aware of Sing the Change, and they asked me if I could do this with a business, with a company, take the songwriting and to create team building skills. And create an experience where they had to create their own song. And of course I said, sure. So next thing you know, we're in Johannesburg organizing this. And what we did though, they chose a pre-existing song, and I created a backtrack out of the song, and then they wrote their own lyrics. And they chose the theme of the song. And of course, it was very humorous, and it was about, team building and bonding and bringing them together through music. And what was great is that they were also launching a new recording studio. Ultimate Media are the people who are in charge they represent DJs, and they write all the copy for advertising on radio stations. So there were a lot of creatives in there as well. But it was a fun time, and I was quite nervous about it because I wasn't quite sure how it was going to go down, because, working with adults and music, even though I work with adults and music, it's very difficult because obviously there's a huge fear. There's an enormous sense of the past, the sense of shame and embarrassment, and, the fear about singing. But in the end, we managed to sort of break through all that, and they ended up writing their song, and really participated, and that's them in the recording studio, in their recording studio. And that's them there, and that was Team Song. So with all this sort of project work and the initiative work, I work also with individuals, and my inspiration now is like, how do I take all that information, all that experience, all that knowledge and understanding, and infuse it into a particular experience where individuals without any musical experience or talent, how can they connect with their own coherency and with their own wholeness, and reconnect to that innocence? How can they transform, and what can we do to help that? And so that's why I wanted to create an experience, and that's where Song Dala came about. And what a Song Dala actually is somebody, everybody has their own song in their hearts. And I've really witnessed this with all the people that I've worked with. And the challenge is that we have these layers sitting on top of our heart. We have these past experiences and these wounds and these traumas that disconnect us from our authentic nature, from our wholeness, from our innocence. And the thing about a coherent heart is that it represents our child heart, because we are all born with that coherency. It never changes as we age, and it doesn't have anything to do with gender. It is like a template that exists within us, but it needs something for us to connect with it. And music is an incredible tool in order to retrieve that connection, and using a song, an original song, to do so is what Song Dala is about. So I work with people in this transformational process whereby they're given this opportunity to start unraveling those blocks and those obstacles. And as we do that, we start to align more with their wholeness as opposed to what they think they are, which is they identify more with brokenness. And Song Dala is, as I wrote here, the transformation occurs. It's like an emotional alchemy, because we're engaging in these resources of the heart. And these resources, such as vulnerability, compassion, forgiveness, courage, all these qualities have a particular vibrational quality that we need in order to move through our own transformation. What happens is we develop a new vision, a new perception, and suddenly our past changes, and we are no longer a victim, and this perception becomes anchored in this new narrative, and that narrative becomes the words of a song that resonate specifically to that person. And then finally, the vocalizing of the song is the part where we actually embody this higher vibrational consciousness that is brought in through what we have inside of us. So, and this creates like an inner flow. And if you see here in this image, this is a picture of the chakra system, our energy system. And when we work with music, in terms of shifting from outer power to inner power, the top four, the last four chakras, 4, 5, 6, and 7, the last energy centers, are all about our inner power. And in order to access our inner power, we have to go through the heart. And music has the ability to help us shift and move through it. And that's what I've really seen in this experience all these years. And this process with Song Dala is a way to help people to find that in such a way that they align, they realign, they reconnect, and they go back to that part of them who is connected and more whole, more present, more aware. And this is just that. So I'm just going to finish off with this slide. So imagine drawing out the medicine you need from within through a connection with your heart and soul, and in using your voice to sing your song, you are actually administering your own medicine. And here you have a song that whenever you need it, you sing your own song, and that the act of actually singing your song aligns you with that part of yourself that you disconnected from. So what is a songdala? It's basically, in the steps of creating, it's just basically an original song, but it has a particular vibrational quality because the manner in which it is retrieved goes through particular steps. And like I said before, it is about connecting with your wholeness and your authentic nature. It is transformative, and it works at the same time. It works in collaboration with your wounds. So we actually work through all the issues, the blocks, and we need that because that is what flips over through the process. And suddenly that's what the alchemy is. The transformation happens through that process. And then that transformation is infused in the song. And that is basically it. It's so weird hearing yourself talk all the time. I get so tired of hearing my own voice. So if anybody has any questions to ask me, I'm going to stop sharing, right?
Yeah. Okay, great. Now we can see everybody.
Yay.
Laura, that was so amazing. I'm going to just put you on large because I don't have to worry about any more videos. That was phenomenal. I mean, I've just been watching the 28 people have stayed on for close to an hour and a half. Norma just said,
oh my gosh, it's an hour and a half.
Thank you, Laura, so much. I'm not rushing off, so I'm going to open it up, and I'd love to invite you to just any questions or any comments you just want to make or ask Laura, please. If there's anybody, unmute yourselves or wave your hand, ask in the chat. Yeah. And let's see, Daphne was just waving to somebody in the background. Hi, Daphne. Let's see, Claudia, yes.
Hi, Laura.
Hi, Claudia.
I know you from somewhere. I don't know if
I do know you. I think
or many years back, and
yes,
just in and around neighborhoods.
Yes.
Thank you. That was really wonderful and very inspiring. I just wanted to know how you incorporated the kinesiology and the life alignment in your healing work with the kids.
So with the children. So I didn't incorporate the actual technique with the children. I incorporated my knowledge and awareness through being a kinesiologist. So in doing that work, I looked at the children holistically. I didn't look at the children in terms of being just a physical body and what they could produce. I looked at them in terms of their spirit, their heart, and their mind, and their physicality. So it was a holistic approach with working with children. You know, in our education today, the greatest challenge is that we don't see children beyond what we see and what they can produce. And what I love about Seeing the Change is that working with music, we get to actually experience the whole child, and they get to experience all of themselves as well. So it's really a different perception of working with children and also working with adults. It's the same thing. It's a holistic perspective. Thanks for that question, Claudia.
Okay, and just one more. I mean, I've come across sound healing in the last year and a half, and I find it just incredible. Have you ever considered crystal bowls?
You know, for me, I love it. I love being in the experience. I love being surrounded by, you know, the bowls that are played, and it's just a beautiful experience. For me, my work is primarily with the voice. And what's really important to me is, even though I'm a singer, I was never trained a singer. My relationship to music and singing has always been intuitive. So I'm very good at showing people how to have that relationship with singing and music. So it's not about primarily the theory and about sounding good. It's about sounding yourself. When I have people come to me it's important to me that the instrument in which they are healed through is their own voice. And to do that, you have to be courageous, and it takes courage to be able to hear and listen to your own voice, because we've got such a critical side to ourselves that just we don't want to go there, and yet it's the very thing that we have to look at and allow ourselves just to move through. And it's just so profound when I work with people that when they take that step and bit by bit, it's like the layers start to peel off and they meet another side of themselves. And more importantly, what they do, they actually go back to that child heart. They revisit and they can connect to their joy more. I had one client was a male CEO, and he said to me, I would like to come to you for singing. I used to sing in a school choir at school, and I was told I had a good voice, and singing always made me feel good. But, I'm a businessman, and it's sort of not really looked upon in favorably, and, I'm a bit shy and embarrassed. And when this man came to me, he had a lovely voice, but the voice was completely smothered by this fear. And the sad thing is that we take that voice is who we are, that's our vibration, our sound, and we take that voice out with us wherever we go. And we put all the value on this, and we forget what we hear, what is said, and what is not being said is actually what's really important. But we're not trained, we are so focused on the physical that we miss out on that. But we all have the ability to do that. We all have the ability to align with our voices. And that alignment brings us back to that wholeness and that child heart.
Beautiful. And our truth.
Exactly, our truth. Yeah, that's it. Our original essence. We end up living this life where we pack on layers and layers of things we think we should be, or to fit in, or and then we're thinking, well, whose life am I living, and where am I? And the same thing happens. You can hear that in a voice. When people come to me, I often hear more what's not being said than what is being said. And when I work with people, I really work a lot with what's not being said, and I intuitively work through that. So I invite all of you, if this appeals to you, if this part of you, like the thought of actually connecting with your own heart song and having that as something that you can sing along to during the day when you're feeling disconnected or with a lack of presence, it's such a beautiful tool. I mean, I've been doing it for so many years, and it just, I mean, I don't know what I would do without it. But that's me.
Wonderful. Thank you.
You're welcome. Thank you.
Can I ask a question, please?
Yes, Paula.
Hello, darling.
Hello, darling.
Wonderful. I've been crying. Oh, my goodness. All the music and making me all emotional. So now the heart song. Is that what you call it?
Well, I've given it a name because I like Song Dal, and I have a meaning behind the name. There's a reason why it is. But go on. Yeah.
No, so is there only one? Like, if you do it, do you only do it once, or would you be kind of motivated or inspired, or however you are emotionally? Could there be others, or how does it actually work?
There could definitely be others. But the thing is, when you do it once, remember that the actual song, it doesn't matter about the words, although the words are something that you have to feel comfortable and aligned with. It's the vibrational quality of what's come through, of working through that process, because it's a journey of working to get to the words in the song is the final stage. But it's each day what's happened, there's these shifts, and the vibration shifts along with you. That's your own evolution through the process of the songwriting. And what happens is that song, the vibrational quality in the moment that you sing it, in the rawness of you singing it, is that's where the magic is. It's in that vibrational quality. So when you listen to a song, or when you listen to, or if you watch somebody perform on TV and you see somebody who performs and they're technically brilliant, right? But you're not drawn, there's no resonance, you know. What happens is the song Dala has the resonance of wholeness for you, how that has come up in your story, in your life. And that resonance comes through and it becomes a tool that you can use. I'm going to play my song. I'm going to sing in my car. Okay, I need to hear my song. I'm going to play my song. It's that sort of thing. It's also creating this, for me, it's like creating this conscious relationship with music and your voice instead of a passive one. We've grown up with such a passive relationship to music. I mean, the ancients used music in such a way. I mean, the Chinese emperors would use music. They would travel the different areas and listen to the music that was being played in the different villages. And if the music in the village was not set in the same key, every village had to be the same key, they knew that dissidence was going to break out. They knew that the people weren't happy.
Yeah. Amazing.
So everything is so much about, and that's what alignment is. They were all aligned to this fundamental tone. And how we use music and our relationship to music, you know, it's like Claudia was saying about, you know, there's so much about sound healing. There's so much about that's coming out now about voice and connecting with your voice. Yeah. Ultimately, we are vibration, we're sound. That's our real existence. This is just a physical representation of a vibration, of a frequency. So, yeah, have I answered that question? Oh,
how can we make a world song?
Well, I actually like to do this in a workshop as well, like do a collective. That's what I'm going to experiment with as well. So take a group of people and we write a song collectively, a song Dala collectively, and sing it together and see what happens there.
Awesome. Thank you.
Pleasure. Jenny?
I wanted to ask you, have you heard of David Sarita?
No.
Oh, I was exposed to him just recently and what he does, and I'm fascinated by it, and I actually want to see if I can find a way to work with it. But he works with something called the Gospel of the Egyptian Vowel Sounds. And when you work with those vowel sounds, it activates a bliss state within the body. It moves that sound up and out through the crown chakra. And the more you work with it, the more you're actually functioning through a state of bliss. And that sounds fascinating to me. That's something I want to work on because it's really about spiritual expansion into our natural state of being. We discover our soul through moving through the vowel sounds.
Absolutely. I enjoy singing and writing mantras as well, and doing the whole spiritual side of singing and getting into that bhakti center for me, because, you know, it's always about that bliss state through the heart, you know, and you know, music and singing is such a connection to the heart. So I absolutely love that. And I've also heard of other teachers that do something similar, and it's beautiful to really to get into that state of presence, you know, using what we have inside of us instead of always seeking outside of us. You know, we have so much available to us, but we've always thought what we need is outside.
Okay, wonderful. Thank you.
Thanks, Jenny.
I might be contacting you.
Please do. I love doing it. Anybody else? Anything? Any questions? Don't be shy.
Okay, I'll have another little thing. I wish that you'd been around when we did a little activism, I suppose, about teaching children about the Amazon and the fire, the forests, and the whole story. It was a climate scenario, and there's a little school in the inner city in Johannesburg called City Kids. It started with about 30 children and has now grown to about 780, if not maybe 800 children.
Wow.
And hubby is involved with it, and I decided that we were going to do a whole scenario. And La, you would have been amazing, because we had nearly 800 children forming the shape of Africa, and then forming the shape of a tree, and how we were singing the song and doing yoga and singing along to how we can connect to nature and the world and the planet. And where, you know, we sing, and all of our energy and everything reverberates further and further into the world and the whole story. And it was quite amazing. I mean, looking at your productions and the whole story, it would have been absolutely perfect. So we might need to plan another one.
Sure. That sounds great, Paula.
No, it was phenomenal. These little babies
Wonderful.
singing and everything, yeah. But
Wonderful.
yeah, powerful with
Very
song
powerful.
and energy, and what our words are, the authenticity
Yes.
of feeling. Yeah.
Beautiful. Beautiful. I see Siviwe is still there. Siviwe, can you come and have you? Is he
Yes.
gone?
Yes.
Yeah, you're
No,
there.
I'm here. Yeah.
I just have to share with everyone. This is such a special experience because what do you want to tell the story, Siviwe? Because we haven't seen each other since you were what, 12 years old?
Yeah. The last time you were at Kinghamton Primary School in
Yes,
Crossroads.
I can't pronounce it as well as you. So
That I think it was in 2000.
yeah, it would have been around then. So it was a long time ago, and
It was a long time ago.
it was the initiative that I shared with everybody here, and I even
Yes,
showed a picture of you
you did. Yeah.
as one of the 4 children that I'd
Yes.
photographed.
Yeah.
And then what was so heartwarming is that you contacted me. How did you find me?
Well, I had a certificate that I kept all my life that I received from one of your workshops. It was a certificate of participation when we sort of graduated from your program. And I kept that certificate very close to my heart because of those, life-changing sessions would have at the end of every session we had then. And I think when I founded the project, Ikamva Labantwana, where I'm currently the director, you are one of the very first people that I informed that, Laura, I have started a project like this and we are assisting children from Crossroads. And your name was always there. It was on that certificate that you handed over to me many, many years ago. And with technology, I went online. That's how I came across you. And I think I added you on Facebook and we sort of exchange messages. Yes. And as I'm listening to your presentation today, Laura, I'm thinking to myself that, you know, there was a reason why our pets had to cross
Yeah.
and look at what I have been able to do for many other children and how my life has transformed over these years. So just to give people an idea of what I do, we provide after school programs for primary school children from Crossroads and younger areas. The project started in 2012, and we assist kids from township to access high-performing high schools around Crossroads. And we also have music and arts development as one of our programs once a week, besides the academic support that we provide them. And this year, I have actually started my Bachelor's of Social Sciences degree at UCT, where I major in social development and African music.
Wow.
Oh,
So now
fantastic.
the aim is also to use music as therapy
Oh, wonderful.
in township. Yeah.
That is
Yeah,
so
it's a
great.
long journey, and again, our paths will cross.
Yes, I think so.
Yes.
Well, it's just blown me away when I received your email out of the blue. I mean, 20 years later, and I'm like, and you sent me that picture of you. So then I completely remembered who you were in the workshop and in those years that we worked together. and there was quite a few people. And I remember I actually sent Siviwe an email because I wanted to do. I'm wondering if Siviwe was the boy that pulled out the key, the one that actually was able to discover, and really connect with his heart and his coherency, and to, I was like so curious. And that's why I even sent him an email. Like, was it you? Was it you? But I'm so grateful. I'm so grateful that you've reconnected. Honestly, it's just wonderful for me. And if you need any assistance or anything, of course, I mean, our paths will cross again.
Yes.
Fantastic. Thank you, Siviwe.
Thank you.
Thank you, Sabiwa. I'm so pleased you came on. And I mean, maybe me and you can chat, and you can come on to conversations one evening and share your story, because it's really about sharing uplifting stories so that we uplift and inspire each other. And what you've done, and the connection, like there's 6 degrees of separation. We also connected. I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to put my phone number in the chat and take my phone number down, and let's communicate via WhatsApp, and then maybe you can come on to my conversations one evening. If you'd like to, I'd love that. So great. And then I just wanted to share with you, Laura, I know that both Daphne's, Orkin and Marie just wrote down beautiful, beautiful messages for you.
Oh, thank you. I can see. Thank
really
you.
inspired by you. And I know that Daphne Orkin said she'd love to learn how to write her own song. So I think she might have gone already. But I'm going to, before we all go, I am going to make sure that I share Laura's details, her website and everything first thing tomorrow. If you don't have my details, I'm going to quickly write them down in the chat. Let me just see how I can do this. Here we go. My cell phone number is, I'm going to put it down, and then just get hold of me, 259-3086. I have a WhatsApp group for this conversations, and then you'll be notified every 2 weeks. I have somebody on, and if somebody has a story to share, I'm always looking for stories, because only together can we kind of make a healthier and kinder community. So this is where it starts. So I want to know, is there anybody else that has any more questions or comments? I'm just curious, there is a musician in the house, so I don't know, Mike, if you're feeling shy, or if there's any comments you want to make. I know you work with kids as well, and that's a fascinating, so maybe you can just kind of share with Laura, or any thoughts on tonight.
Yeah, well, first, watching your presentation, I just think it's, how you grow and how you decide to start something, and you're planting a seed, and then it evolves and it goes, that seed now, is it Siviwe, I guess, or that student that you had there, now he's taken that seed, and he's growing with it. That's just amazing. You never know
Absolutely
what you're gonna sow from that seed, and so following your intuition to like, oh, let me try this, and I think it's gonna help the kids. And sure enough, was it 20 years later? Yes, it does. And it has created such a, I just think that's very good. It's impressive, and it's a great thing,
Thank you. And it's so true, Michael, because when you talk about that seed, and I think that's whenever we're in a position where we want to actually create something that is important to us, and it's like that lesson I'm always brought back to is focus on what it is, focus on the essence, don't focus on the result. So because focus on what you know to be true, what you believe in, and then allow that just to unfold. And I think that is the the part of planting a seed. When you plant it, you let it go. You know, you
Yeah.
don't watch it all the time waiting for it to grow.
Yeah.
It has its own agenda, and it will grow in its own accord, and it gets nourished by people's attention and interest and curiosity, and through that it grows according in its own timing, whatever it wants to be. I just think with these sort of projects, it's like these projects have their own agenda, and each time I was like shown what it wanted to be next, you know? It's
Yeah.
like, it's just, and I'm just the person going, okay, well then it wants to go there. Okay, well, yeah, let's try that then, you know? And then someone says, why don't you do this? Okay, let's try that then. And it was like, because it was music, I was able to keep, and because I loved it. If it was anything else, I probably would never been able to have that flow, because I had such that connection, you know?
Yeah.
And because it was always a helpful friend to me in my most troubled times, I knew I was going to what I was going into with a friend. You know, I wasn't going in alone. That's how it felt like to me. So,
Sure. It helped you express your voice. You know, it helped you
yeah,
express your ideas. You
yeah,
know, it's what brought it across.
absolutely.
Yeah.
And then I grew so much through it. So every time I thought it was one thing, I was shown something else.
Yeah. It opens those
It's
doors and you're like,
yeah,
oh,
and it's infinite. It's infinite. Like
yeah,
now with Song Dallas, it's now this is the next step. And
yeah,
it's like this constant evolution that's happening. And all I have to do is be present for it,
yeah.
you
That's
know,
it. And just be
and then
willing to participate.
exactly. Yeah.
That's it. Yeah. Well, you know, I don't know if Elaine told you, like I write children's music as well, you
Okay.
know, and in America and here, I've done loads, you know, like albums and concerts and things like that. And one story that reminded me similar of how you know your story is I was doing a concert at this school for children with autism, and at the end of the show the principal came over and he asked me, can I come back and just do whatever I did again, because some of the kids responded positively that he's never seen them respond before in that way. So I said, well, I don't know what I did, but I'll come back, sure. You know, if it works. So I ended up going back, and just it was just intuition, you know, just feeling like what, you know, just reading the kids, you know, just feeling where they're at, and responding to them, and they respond to me, and it was an interaction back and forth, and it worked. It worked, and I did it for 10 or 15 years, you know, and even to the point where I started this school orchestra. And, you know, first you're told, oh, you can't do that with, you know, children with autism. You can't. And it's like, whew, that's the last thing to tell me that I can't do something.
Yeah.
So I said, I
Great
think I
motivation.
can. I think they can do it. So so I did. And they did it, and they did a fantastic job, you know.
Brilliant.
And so it's that same thing. You just listen to yourself, or whatever the intuition to them, and go for it, you know.
100%. 100%. That's so true. It's that intuition. And that's that feeling, you know. Thanks, Claudia. Thank you so much. Nice to see you again. Our kids went to school together. That's what it was when they were little. Yeah, that you know, being an ex-school teacher, for me, it's so the whole thing about seeing children, you know,
Yeah,
and
and the thing of that is that first, yeah, you were a school teacher in the Catholic school, but then you had that musical background. But then all this time later, slowly, wait, all these pieces are pieces of your puzzle, and then, oh, this is what you should be doing, and you put them
exactly.
all together,
Yeah, yeah.
you know.
Well, I don't think I just they showed up and I looked at, and then I put the pieces. Yeah, I guess I did. I put the pieces together. Yeah. And the interesting thing, if it, you know, at 28, when I started studying kinesiology, and when I had that big catalyst, that was the biggest thing. That was the greatest gift, because if I hadn't gone and dropped to my state of depression,
Mm-hmm.
that was the place where I could learn compassion. That's where I went through one of my biggest heart journeys, because I couldn't
Yeah.
give that to the kids or anybody else unless I'd gone through that huge struggle. And then, of course, that wasn't just one. There are many that have come, and each time we've had these struggles, they've allowed us to meet another part of ourselves, you know, and
Yeah.
we don't lose through our struggles, we gain.
You
That's
learn.
the thing. We learn, absolutely.
Yeah.
There's always that gem. There's
Well,
more
that
of us
was
that we can take, you know.
exactly that, and it's exactly what you were saying. You know, from the teaching, and then you kind of got into modeling, and you still weren't sort of. I don't feel 100%. This is where I should be. There's, you know, still searching, even though you're doing it and you're, you know, getting benefits from it. It just wasn't you 100%, you know, and
Yeah.
then that leads you down the way. And you know, and I went through the same thing with I used to manage a bank, believe it or not, and it was great money wise and getting the house and the car and everything like that. But I'm like, I don't want to be like getting old working at the bank. So you know, I had that same uneasy. Yourself is telling you, get out of there. You know, do what you want to do. And then I started being a musician full time, and that led, you know, from concerts to write music for kids. And that's the last thing I ever thought I would do, but
Yeah.
it became really successful. Like,
That's fantastic.
you know, and it helps them. And I did the same thing. You know, one of the things I was teaching guitar, and one of the things was my students would. This was like 1993. My students would come to me and they'd be, looking up to Kurt Cobain, you know, from Nirvana, and he just died at the time, and it was a very negative way that he died and everything. And I thought, that's a horrible negative
Message.
idol or someone to look up to. And so that's sort of what got me doing the children's music, because I wanted to give them, you know, the music was for kids from like 3 to 7, that I wanted them to have a wholesome image when they're young at that influential age, you know, and hopefully that you know, they can hold on to that or something. I don't.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, no, I hear you. Absolutely hear you.
But
That's fantastic.
I better go. Thanks very much. I'll be talking all night.
I know. Goes like that. We could all be talking on
I'm an
it.
hour behind you guys, so I can catch up.
What time is it there? So you are 8:30.
Yeah.
Okay. Thanks, Michael. Nice to meet you.
All right. Thanks, you too. Thanks very much. Thanks, Elaine.
Our pleasure,
Cheers.
Mike. I'll see you soon.
Okay.
Thanks for coming
Bye-bye.
tonight. Cheers.
Bye.
Bye now.
So I'm going to just wrap it up, and the 8 of us left. That's the beauty of this. It just kind of finds its natural flow. But just a huge thank you, Laura. That was such an awesome evening. People just loved it.
You.
So Daphne's busy clapping her hands. Ron is still sitting. We're not sure if the others are listening or have left the room, but the screens are still on. But I'm going to share all your details. So do me a favor, send me a WhatsApp with all your details in a little WhatsApp. I'll copy and paste and share it with
Fantastic. I'll do that. Hi, Lorraine. I didn't see. Hi, Lorraine's hiding in the corner there. Hi, Lorraine.